While preparing for my Assassin, I saw a video posted to the MXL Discord and I was immediately derailed from my build to make this instead. And no hyperbole, this might be the strongest build that I've ever played. Tiny disclaimer though, this is an endgame build, so for leveling an assassin, I'll leave a forum guide in the description. This build also uses a 2.10 only scroll as the main cornerstone, so if that doesn't carry over, the build might be dead. Now with that out of the way, let's get to why and how this build destroys anything in the game. The concept of the build revolves around the Amatoxin scroll, which turns your innate elemental damage into a multiplier for Amatoxin's added poison damage to weapons. Then we get as much all skill level and innate elemental damage, IAD from now on. This means any skill with added weapon damage will apply our crazy poisons. The next step for us is to use the Whirlwind to attack many enemies at once. Barbarians have access to Whirlwind naturally, but we go for Assassin because I like to stand out, and we can dual wield these claws to give us not only Whirlwind, but many on melee attack procs. And as we've established, all these skills will apply giga poisons to any enemies who are on screen. We can take this one step further with the Whirlwind relic to free up the weapon slots, so we can use anything we want. A good alternative is the Legio claws, which have not only Hammer Nova, but 100% Hammer Throw on kill, which can clear up any mobs which somehow survived. For single target, we'll go for some crazy rare items, but that's for later. Before we get into the specifics, I have to say one thing: poison is complicated. In short, poison spell damage doesn't increase damage for pretty much anything projectile related. The only use for it is melee hits, so the basic attack you have, and in our case, a Whirlwind. If you only care about clear speed, don't care about poison spell damage at all, but if you want to kill bosses, which this build does an amazing job at, then get as much as you can. Another thing, poison sources. Again, in short, you want one item only with the stats like X poison damage over Y seconds. The more you get, the lower your poison duration will be, but if you don't have any, you lose out on a ton of damage. That's why this pair of gloves is so good, giving you roughly 50% more overall damage. Pretty sweet, huh? If you want to go for as much damage per poison, you also get tons of minus enemy poison resist, because along with the damage the enemy takes, it also makes the applied poison damage longer, so very important stat. Now, with most of the complex stuff out of the way, let's get to the items. I will talk about a full bare bones version and my maxed out version. So for the basic, there are a few mandatory things. Crown of the Black Rose with an Amatoxin scroll, the full Astraga set, the Whirlwind claws, and the poison gloves I mentioned earlier. For the chest, we go for a Hellfire plate. Life Spark will do wonders for survivability while giving you IAD, max res and minus enemy res. For rings, we go for +1 all skills and 8% IAD, or as close as you can get. Nice to have is some spell damage and minus poison res. For the weapons, socket all of them with perfect rainbow stones and use IAD Mystic Orbs for some really easy damage increase. There are many charms which can give you IAD and all skills. These being really good rolls will give you the highest damage possible. Feel free to stop the video here to check with yours if you want to. For single target without a Whirlwind relic, you can swap out one of your claws for a Circuit Breaker, upgrade with Oil of Conjuration, IAD and Poison Spell Damage Mythic Orb. For skills, we max out some of the more obvious stuff like Way of the Spider, Anathema, Perfect Being, Melee Devotion. For some extra survivability, we put 15 points into all 3 traps, then get 35% block chance while dual wielding claws, and 5% HP per second regen once we get hit by a weapon damage. Prismatic Cloak, Endurance and Chemistry are a nice way to make you more beefy, so even tier 10 labs you'll be pretty much unkillable. Queen of Blades can also give you some extra procs for 1 point. Attributes can be focused entirely on Vitality for tankiness or Dexterity if you want as much damage from Hellfire plate as possible. And for the maxed out version, we need to make some changes, taking advantage of the Soul Forge on multiple places. First of all, Whirlwind Relic is pretty much mandatory at this point. This means we can use 2 rare claws like this. The making of this starts with 4 all skills Sacred Rare Wrist Blades, upgrading with Oil of Conjuration, then adding Poison Spell Damage, Poison Pierce, and Poison Damage over 1 second to one of your weapons if you don't use the Rune Word gloves anymore, which we don't. Also, equip this in your main hand, since Whirlwind takes the poison damage from the main hand, even though Whirlwind alternates weapons while spinning. Then instead of unique Mystic Orbs, we get the basic IAD ones from vendors. Then, as many times as we can, we will bless this item with Trinity Shrine, Oil of Intensify for 4% IAD. For multiple blessings, we use Breath of Thaumaturgy. For the chest, instead of Hellfire Plate, we go for +6 all skills Angelic 1 with Poison Pierce, Poison Spell Damage, and any optional tanky modifiers you might need, HP, Max Res, Damage Reduction. We do the same multi-blessing process for up to 8% IAD per blessing. For gloves, since we already have a poison damage source from our weapon, we go for the same idea as the chest, just +4 all skills instead of 6. And this is pretty much the entirety of the build. And now for some boss showcase.